This is BYU Idaho Radio. I'm Nathan Collier.
And I'm Christelle Wright, and this is Tell Me About It. Coming up on the next half hour, we'll take you on a hike to Stinkin' Springs near Hi-C. It's the first in a new series of outdoor adventures.
Plus, we try to put yesterday's shooting at Rigby Middle School in perspective.
The vast support that we have received is overwhelming, and we are grateful to live in a community that cares about their students, cares about their schools, and are willing to offer that support.
A look at how few school shootings have actually happened in Idaho.
And we take you on a tour of a new building at BYU Idaho.
They made that space great for us, as good as we could. We're kind of crammed in there, but it worked out.
A look at the new visual arts studio.
These stories and more coming up on Tell Me About It. But first, the news.
For BYU Idaho Radio, I'm Isabella Salazar. The Jefferson County Sheriff's Office continues its investigation into yesterday's shooting at Rigby Middle School. A 6th grade girl is in custody. The sheriff says she shot 2 classmates and an adult custodian. The custodian was treated and released from the hospital yesterday, and the 2 students are expected to make full recoveries. The sheriff says their names will not be released at this time. He did say they searched the girl's home and are now interviewing witnesses and working to put together exactly what happened. The shooting was just one tragedy that hit eastern Idaho yesterday. Here's student reporter Alec Pope.
After a terrifying day at Rigby Middle School yesterday, communities across eastern Idaho are trying to recover. Many have said on social media that it was one of the worst news days in recent memory. A 6th grade girl opened fire on her classmates Thursday morning at Rigby Middle School. She shot and injured 2 students and a custodian before a teacher was able to take the gun from her. The custodian was released from the hospital Thursday afternoon, and the 2 students are expected to make a full recovery. Later in the day on Thursday, news broke that the Idaho Falls Bomb Squad was investigating at a home in Idaho Falls in connection with the shooting. Very little information has been released about what could be going on there, though. Later Thursday, a BYU Idaho student was presumed drowned after going missing while swimming in the Henry's Fork east of St. Anthony. And just 2 hours later, a train collided with a semi-truck just a couple miles south of St. Anthony. The truck erupted into flames and was pushed a half-mile before stopping. Onlookers were able to pull 25-year-old Stephen Jensen from the accident, and he was rushed to the hospital with severe injuries. And at nearly the same time, a 17-year-old boy in Jefferson County accidentally shot himself in the chest with a .22. He was taken by helicopter to Eastern Idaho Regional Medical Center, where he's expected to make a recovery. After all of that, Idahoans are feeling exhausted. Yet, as quickly as news could spread, so did the community reaction, which has been overwhelmingly positive and supportive. Several online fundraisers have popped up to offer financial support to the shooting victims. Countless others have expressed their feelings of love and prayer for those involved in each of these tragedies. #RigbyStrong was trending yesterday on Facebook as so many voiced their support for the school. As affected communities move forward, there is a lot of recovery and healing that still needs to happen. But today, Eastern Idaho is standing together. For BYU Idaho Radio, I'm Alec Pope.
Idaho Governor Brad Little has signed into law a measure that could lead to the killing of 90% of the state's 1,500 wolves. He signed the bill on Thursday that had already passed the Senate and House with enough votes to overcome a veto. The law, backed by ranching industry and slammed by environmentalists, allows the state to hire private contractors to kill wolves and opens up new ways wolves can be killed. Those methods include hunting, trapping and snaring an unlimited number of wolves with a single hunting tag, using night vision equipment, chasing wolves on snowmobiles and ATVs, and shooting them from helicopters. Idaho lawmakers are in a waiting game to see whether the governor vetoes any of the more than 30 bills that remained unsigned when the House and Senate recessed last Wednesday. By the time lawmakers return next Wednesday, Little's deadline to decide on most or all of those bills will have passed. Little is expected to sign most of them, but 4 of the measures limit a governor's authority during declared emergencies. They're watered-down versions of bills Little previously vetoed. Rexburg offers many activities throughout the year for the community to learn, grow, and have fun. COVID-19 has been a struggle for everyone, but Jed Platt, the cultural arts director for the city of Rexburg, says the pandemic couldn't stop the events.
They're different, but you can't stop creativity. So we've had to think outside the box this last year. We've had some really fun activities.
He says they've taken this time to complete maintenance on some of the buildings, including the renovations on the Romance Theater lobby. Those renovations include the opening of windows so those outside can see in, new lighting, new carpet, and much more. It will also be available as a separate venue from the auditorium. He says the space should be open during the afternoon as a welcome center for Rexburg so that people can see the renovations and learn about other things that are happening around town. Platt also says Rexburg is in a tourism corridor due to visitors to the university and people driving through to go to Yellowstone National Park. He says it provides a way to show off Rexburg's history and allow people to get to know the town as they're passing through. Some upcoming activities include a year-long monthly art stroll beginning on the first Friday in June. As part of the art stroll, there will be a hands-on activity. In June, this activity will be Chalk the Block, a chalk art competition. Other activities include a live-stream concert from the Rexburg Tabernacle Orchestra on May 27th, and the Teton Dam Marathon is on June 5th. For BYU Idaho Radio, I'm Isabella Salazar.
Thanks, Isabella. We wanted to share a little perspective about the school shooting in Rigby yesterday.
It seems like we hear about school shootings all the time, but when it comes to Idaho, well, it's actually extremely rare. Here's News Director Brandon Isle.
The gunman who killed 9 people yesterday at a community college in Oregon had...
Authorities say 2 suspects opened fire there yesterday, killing 1 student and injuring 8 others.
At least 9 dead and 10 more injured. Those are the official numbers after another school shooting in the United States.
Early this morning, gunfire broke out at a high school in Maryland, about 65 miles southeast of Washington, D.C. 2 teenagers were wounded, one of them critically, and the shooter, who was also
this
a
afternoon,
teen,
a gunman opened fire at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. Officials say 17 people were killed, students and adults.
The news is terrible every time we hear it, a shooting at a school. While shootings did happen before Columbine High School in 1999, that shooting seemed to be the wake-up call and when we really started to accelerate. Often the shooter is a student of the school, though not always. Sometimes they're intended victims, sometimes there's not. One thing the shootings all have in common, though, is the mental toll they take on the students, staff, and community. That's why the Jefferson County School District Superintendent made counselors available today. The Center for Homeland Defense and Security keeps track of school shootings and even tracks when a gun is shown at school. Since 1970, there have been 1,699 shootings in U.S. schools, with 605 deaths and more than 1,600 injuries. Yesterday's shooting at Rigby Middle School added 3 more to that injury toll. When you look at the data map on the shooting database, you see circles dotting the U.S. with clumps in California and more clumps along the East Coast. But when you look at Idaho, there are only 5 incidents, 5 dots, counting yesterday. The shooting yesterday was the first with injuries in the Gem State. There was an accidental fired gun in 1970 in Meridian. A student threatened her class and sparked a 1-hour standoff in 1989 at Rigby Junior High. In 1999, a shooter fired 2 shots inside Meridian High School, but surrendered to police. And a gun accidentally fired in a backpack in Twin Falls in 2018. Police have yet to confirm what led to the shooting at Rigby Middle School yesterday. Jefferson County School District Superintendent Chad Martin canceled class today and again made sure to have counselors on hand for anyone who wanted to talk about what happened. Here's what he said during a news conference yesterday.
This is the worst nightmare a school district could ever face. We prepare for it, but we're never truly ready for it. Our hearts and our prayers go out to the victims and their families and all those involved. We want to especially thank our community. The vast support that we have received is overwhelming, and we are grateful to live in a community that cares about their students, cares about their schools, and are willing to offer that support.
Perhaps it's the outpouring of support that might be the silver lining in something like this. There were many people on social media and elsewhere who recalled what Mr. Rogers said his mother told him when he'd see scary things on the news. Look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping.
But I can tell you from the time we've got students out of the building, moved them to the high school, within 30 minutes, we had agencies here helping, bringing food, water, blankets. It's, like I said, it's overwhelming for the support that we had. Multiple people texting, emailing, calling, coming, asking what they can do to help. So the support from the community was overwhelming, and I have no doubt it will continue to be that way.
Police will continue to investigate, the prosecutor will file charges, and this case will go through the courts. But what the community will likely remember is how people came together to support each other. For BYU Idaho Radio, I'm Brandon Isle.
A midnight Walmart run and the full hearts of a few BYU Idaho students are being put to good use. Sisters Eliza and Alexa McDonald, along with their friends Sweetie, Alyssa, and Bella, have decided to show their support for those affected by yesterday's shooting by sending more thoughts and prayers.
We just wanted to have everybody here from Rexburg who wanted to show love and support to the Rigby, to the middle school, Rigby Middle School.
The group have compiled an assortment of yellow items to send to those wounded in the violence that erupted yesterday at RMS. They also had students sign positive messages to those affected. The sign is full of signatures and messages with large letters spelling RMS Strong. When asked what they want to say to those in Rigby, they said this.
Just wanted to let everybody know that we're here for them, we support them, and we love them. All the way over here from Rexburg, sending our love to Rigby.
If you want to send a positive message to those in Rigby, look out for the Positive Group on campus across from the Alder Building.
BYU Idaho's robust music program sends students into classrooms every semester. While they each may focus on a particular instrument, they need to know them all to teach. Student reporter Wallace Moulton talked to one student who plays an instrument many of us are unfamiliar with.
There is a brass instrument that has the same timbre as a French horn, has the pitch range of a trombone, and can play music written for woodwinds. It's the euphonium. The euphonium is related to the tuba and is a newer instrument. It was invented in 1843. For her final semester at BYU Idaho, euphonium player Mary Miller will perform in a recital tomorrow. I sat down to talk with Miller about her career goals and why she loves music.
And music, like the gospel, is a fire in my life, and I only want to help the flame grow brighter.
Miller is earning a bachelor's degree in music education with an emphasis in band. Next semester, she'll begin her student teaching at Sugar Salem High School.
Well, I always knew that I wanted to be a teacher. The question was just what, and when I started high school, I decided that music was my true passion. And music is in every aspect of our lives, whether we realize it or not. I simply chose to pursue it just because I want to understand its mysteries. I'm here to help other students, other people, anyone really, to see if music is not necessarily just like for them, but for them to pursue. Well, I hope to work with everybody, so that I can work between all the ages and wherever I can. And the ultimate goal is to eventually come back to BYUI and be ready to teach a new generation of music lovers and educators.
Through her education degree, she has had to play in various ensembles. She has experience with contemporary music like jazz standards, but prefers opportunities to play classical music. One of her favorite on-campus ensembles to play in is Symphony Band, conducted by Sister Diane Solberg, an oboe professor. Miller started playing the piano at 7 years old and started playing the euphonium at 11.
So originally I wanted to play the tuba. And when I tried out like all the different instruments when I was in 6th grade, I was a little too short to reach the mouthpiece. So I couldn't play the tuba. So I chose the next best instrument, which was the euphonium. When I started on euphonium in 6th grade and throughout high school, the repertoire was really simple. But when I really fell in love with the euphonium was when I came to BYUI.
In high school, Miller found that music was more than her passion. Participating in music brought her a sense of camaraderie.
When I was in high school, pep band was a big part of our high school, and I really enjoyed the time I had there. And even when I had a bad day, pep band was always there. I got to hang out with my friends, cheer on the teams. It was great.
Miller was able to meet her husband, make lasting friendships, and achieve her goals all through music.
Because music is such a language, it's communication, and that's what I love about it.
Miller's recital will feature music that spans every era from the Renaissance to modern music. The works performed were written by composers like Galliard, Doherty, Curnow, Tillman, and Capuzzi. She is being accompanied by adjunct piano faculty member Jesse Holmgren. You can watch Miller's recital live on the BYU Idaho Live Events webpage on Channel 2 at 11 a.m. tomorrow, Saturday, May 8th. For BYU Idaho Radio, I'm Wallace Moulton.
Tonight, Rexburg, Idaho Falls, and Pocatello all have a forecast showing a chance of thunderstorms paired with a chance of rain. Jackson shows a chance of rain and snow. Lows will be in the 30s. This kind of weather continues into tomorrow for Rexburg and Jackson, while Idaho Falls and Pocatello show mostly sunny skies with highs in the 50s. Sunday brings sunny and partly skies all across the listening area. Boise's forecast for the weekend shows mostly clear skies at night and sunny skies for Saturday and Sunday. Salt Lake City has a chance of rain tonight and then sunny skies tomorrow and Sunday.
Right now it's 72 in Rexburg, 72 in Idaho Falls, 69 in Pocatello, 68 in Jackson, and 64 in Boise, and 79 in Salt Lake City. You're listening to Tell Me About It on BYU Idaho Radio. Still ahead, we take you on a hike to Stinkin' Springs near Hi-C and give you the rundown about what you could expect if you head out.
And we take you inside BYU Idaho's new visual art studio. We'll be right back.
College life is stressful, and sometimes it feels like people don't understand your struggles. BYU Idaho Radio's podcast, The Spot, sure does. With a full cast of student hosts, we talk about the things that affect BYU Idaho students like roommate struggles, finals, and even mental health. Catch our episodes on your favorite podcast app. Just subscribe to BYU Idaho Radio.
Coming up on weekdays on BYU Idaho Radio, I have an interview with Jed Platt, the Cultural Arts Director for the City of Rexburg.
They're different, but you can't stop creativity. So we've had to think outside the box this last year. We've had some really fun activities.
That's tonight at about 6:40, right after the news and music. Be informed, be inspired. This is BYU Idaho Radio.
You're listening to Tell Me About It on BYU Idaho Radio. I'm Christelle Wright.
And I'm Nathan Collier. Thanks for joining us. BYU Idaho's new visual arts studio is open for spring semester. Student reporter Isabella Salazar toured the new building and tells us about it.
BYU Idaho's new visual arts studio sits where the Kirkham building sat for decades. The Kirkham building had a ceramics lab, but also a lot of structural and accessibility problems. The school decided to take it down, but there still needed to be a ceramics lab, so they got to work on the visual arts studio. Ceramics instructor Hiram Benson says in the meantime, ceramics classes were being held in the basement of the Benson building.
They made that space great for us, as good as we could. We're kind of crammed in there, but it worked out.
Now with the new building almost finished and classes being held, ceramics and sculpting students have what they need to do their best work. Andy Johnson, the Director of Architecture and Construction Management Services for BYU Idaho, has been very involved in the construction process, and he showed me around the new building. As soon as you enter the lobby, you'll see the glass gallery where student projects will be on display. A wall of windows facing north brings in natural light to help showcase the work and create an open atmosphere. Johnson says this was intentional.
They told us early on one thing that was important to them was a lot of natural daylight.
A sitting area next to the large windows is included where students can study, chat, or just admire the view.
It should be nice and quiet and a pretty view here to the north.
In addition to the lobby, skylight runs through the center of the building. There are 2 main classrooms, which each have windows along the top of the wall to have as much natural lighting as possible. This gives students the best conditions for working on their projects. Because sculpting and ceramics can get messy, between the classrooms are lockers for aprons and restrooms to change in. The ceramics classroom is full of pottery wheels and warm sunlight. Plenty of shelving space aligns the wall where students can keep their projects and grab more clay. Nearby is a glazing room where students can put on the finishing touches. Around the corner is a room full of, you guessed it, clay. This room was built to hold in humidity to keep the clay wet and malleable. As you keep going, you'll come to an area where there will be a bronze foundry, which will be for creating bronze sculptures. Connected to the foundry is the entrance to a wood shop, which students use for making stands or wood sculptures. You'll also find the kiln room. Once a project is ready to be finalized, it goes in the kiln where it is heated to be solidified. They've got gas, electric, and wood-burning kilns.
Each of those techniques give the clay a different finish or a different feel. So the department here really has a lot of versatility on what they can show students on curing of clay.
The sculpting room has large cabinets with clay human models sitting on top in front of the windows. The light coming in helps illuminate the shapes to give a strong reference point to students. Most of the time, sculptures take more than a day to finish. To keep your sculpture moldable while you're away, you have the choice between a clay warmer or a heating lamp so your project doesn't harden. Next to the sculpting room is the Bachelors of Fine Arts studio, where those students can have a workspace aside from the classroom. This way, students can continue working even while other classes are in session. Although the immediate area outside of the visual arts studio is still being worked on, we now have more parking and there will be grass tying in the Sporey building to the visual arts studio. On the corner facing the north is a new monument sign of BYU Idaho that is great for photos.
At certain times in a student's progress, either getting to school or taking a break from school, definitely when they graduate, they like a place to take a picture, a BYU Idaho picture.
The project is set to be finished by the end of June. For BYU Idaho Radio, I'm Isabella Salazar.
As the weather warms up, we want to take our listeners outside. Student reporter Alec Pope takes us on a hike not far from Hi-Sea's Hot Springs.
It's beautiful out here. It's good to be outside.
It was beautiful out there. I was surprised at how hot it was just a few days into May. There's not much shade on the Stinking Springs trails, but there is a lot of activity. We went on a weekday evening and saw probably 30 or 40 other people. The parking lot at the trailhead was overflowing by the time we got back. The trails opened May 1st and now fill up with people hiking, riding dirt bikes, trail running, and walking their dogs. My wife and I belong to that last group.
Good boy.
He's a mini Australian Shepherd, but he doesn't act like he's a mini. If we hadn't leashed him, he never would have stopped chasing the free-range cows that speckle the hillsides. Stinking Spring Canyon is located just a few miles south of Hi-C, on the other side of Kelly Canyon. Dirt trails crisscross the mountain's southern face that overlooks the western mouth of Swan Valley. Highway 26 can be seen in the distance, and the Snake River bends along the valley floor. You can't help but feel small here, even mini, as you peer out across the vast swath of eastern Idaho. You can even see the wind turbines east of Ammon from here. The hills are covered in sagebrush and the occasional juniper tree. The trails are mostly soft dirt, and they don't require any advanced hiking ability.
So that's the Sidewinder Trail over there. Right there. And it kind of runs somewhat parallel to this trail, the Stinking Springs Canyon Trail. And then they meet up at the top, up there. And then there's one trail that goes farther than it. Goes up to the top of the mountains. But we won't be doing that today. Simba!
The trails here are designed for dirt bikes, but they're often used by hikers. The most popular trail here is the Sidewinder. It's a 4.6-mile out-and-back trail. You'll reach an elevation gain of about 800 feet and usually takes about 2.5 hours to walk. We took the Stinking Springs Canyon Trail. The trail heads about 50 feet south of the Sidewinders. It doesn't have nearly as many switchbacks as the Sidewinder. It's right around 4 miles total and ends at the same place. It took us about 2 hours of hiking time. There's also a third trail there that's much longer than the other two. It breaks off where the two short trails end. It heads up to the top of Kelly Mountain. It's about 10 miles round trip and gains nearly 1,700 feet in elevation. The trails here can get forgotten a bit. People usually turn off at one of the many attractions along the way before Stinking Springs, High C and Kelly Canyon among them. As for the Stinking Spring itself, nowhere to be found. Near the end of Stinking Springs Canyon Trail, there's a few rusted-out feeding troughs filled with water, which is definitely not drinkable. Google Maps says there's a spring a few feet up the hill from there, but it eluded us. I've never heard of anyone actually finding a spring there, but the good news is it definitely does not stink. So don't take this hike expecting a big spring surrounded by a luscious garden, but you can take this hike expecting a lot of open space, beautiful views of the Snake River Valley, and plenty of quiet. Using the parking lot and trail access are both free, open from May 1st through November 30th. When you go, check the weather and bring lots of water. There's almost no shade the whole way. Join me again next time, as the rest of spring and summer, I'll be taking you to some of my favorite places to connect with nature in eastern Idaho. For BYU Idaho Radio, I'm Alec Pope.
Mother's Day is this weekend. We hope you already remembered that and are doing something special for your mom.
We wanted to find out what BYU Idaho students love most about their mothers, so we went on campus to find out. Here's what they told us.
Well, I love my mother because she is just a superwoman, because we're raised in a single family, and then so she take care of everything, and then I think that's the most reason that I love her.
I love that my mom is probably the most selfless person that I know. She's like one of the most sincere people as well.
I love my mom because she's funny and she's very loving and she knows a lot of jokes.
What I love about my mom is that she is also the most caring person ever. Whenever I have stuff going on, she's just understanding of me and whatever situation I'm going through. And honestly, I cannot think of a better quality or characteristic of my mom than that.
My mom knows when to be nurturing, and she also knows when I need reproof. But whenever she does it, it's always in a constructive way. She manages to blend humor in with all of that, and so it's always in a lighthearted way. And I know she cares about me. And she's not afraid to make a fool of me, but she makes a fool of herself. So it's just a well-rounded way to live my life, and she is a great exemplar of that.
What I love about my mom is how kind she is to everyone she meets. She's very non-judgmental and can start a conversation with anyone, and I aspire to do that.
My mom is a great example to me of faith and sacrifice. She always took really good care of me and my siblings and done her best to create a home where we can learn and grow.
I love that she usually answers my calls and is always super nice and supportive of me.
She's loving, supportive, and most importantly, she has the patience to deal with me.
Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Speaking of mothers, I love my mom as well, and my mom is so supportive of me. That's what I love the most about her. She supports me in anything and everything I do, especially in my music. I'm a music major here on campus, and she just pushes me to be the best that I can be, and I love that about her.
I also wanted to give a quick, thank you to my mom. She's amazing. She does so much for all 7 of us kids, and supported me going on a mission and coming to college, and I don't know what I could do without her. Love you, Mom.
Thanks for listening to Tell Me About It. You can catch episodes every Friday at 4 on KBYI 94.3 FM.
Our theme music comes from BYU Idaho students. composer Alex Watson, and Anders Nelson. Find this show and our other podcasts on social media or wherever you get your podcasts. Just like, follow, and subscribe to BYU Idaho Radio.
This is Tell Me About It on BYU Idaho Radio.